Thomas à Kempis says, "Nevertheless, temptations are often very profitable to us, though they be troublesome and grievous. For in them a man is humbled, purified, and instructed." Now, how are temptations or testings humbling? Take the simplest thing, laziness. Supposing a person is tempted to lay in bed until midday and the news gets around that his curtains are still drawn until early afternoon. He's humbled. Supposing it never gets known that he's lazy, then his conscience starts bothering him. He feels a fraud. He may even start to feel condemned, and then he's a prey to the devil. Condemnation exposes us, and so he does something about it before it goes public. God prefers to take this route because he hates to expose anyone. It's contrary to his nature. He prefers covering and forgiveness to exposure and accusation. Remember his actions in the garden after Adam and Eve had sinned in Genesis 3. For Adam and his wife did the Lord God make coats of skins and clothed them. He covered them. Also, recall the theft of Achan in Joshua 7. God provided him the opportunity to confess his sin, first identifying the tribe, then the clan, then the family. I believe it grieved God's sensitivity to have to finally expose Achan. Similarly, in John 8, Jesus empathized with the woman supposedly caught in the act of adultery and dragged before a crowd. He averted his eyes. It grieved him to witness the unkindness. Isn't God wonderful? Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish biblical calendar, means day of covering. He covers shame. This love is humbling. And temptations or tests are purifying. Before a person is tempted to indulge his laziness, he thinks he's stronger than he actually is. He's self-deceived, one of the most destructive characteristics. The test reveals the true state of his faith and integrity. Here's a great secret. The journey towards knowing God is accompanied with knowing ourselves. We cannot be self-deceived and know God. In his light, we see light. Psalm 36, verse 9. Thomas à Kempis goes on to say, "We know not oftentimes what we are able to do, but temptations do show us what we are." Temptation brings me face to face with who I am, and if I find the strength to admit my weakness, to not make the slightest excuse, I'm purified. Honesty with God purifies, and God rewards me. The pure in heart see God. Matthew 5:8. Seeing myself enables me to see more of God. Temptation followed by honesty purifies. Dwight L. Moody said, "Moses spent 40 years thinking he was somebody, 40 years learning he was nobody, and 40 years discovering what God could do with a nobody." Unquote. And temptation instructs. James 1:14 says, "Every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed." Something in me was drawn to something out there. Something in me corresponded to what was out there. I answered to it. I picked up the phone, so to speak. The test is like a mirror being held up before me, revealing my true nature, to which I must respond by taking responsibility. Yes, that is me. It wasn't his fault, or the fault of my upbringing or my present circumstances. No excuses. That is me. Temptations instruct, and it's personal instruction. That is why we are all tempted differently. The tests are tailor-made for each one of us, and that makes them very instructive. It could be said that there is nothing so personal as our temptations, our testings. One person is tempted to lie about his abilities, to exaggerate. He realizes that he is a very insecure person, or maybe he's too fond of impressing other people. Another person is tempted to say hurtful things to people, and he realizes that he's carrying a lot of bitterness around with him. We are all instructed by our particular tailor-made temptations, and God is the answer to them all. Jesus was tempted to rule the world. by paying respect to the devil, sacrificing his integrity. He was tempted in that way because he had the power to rule the world. It could have happened. I've never been tempted in that way because the idea is absurd. He was tempted to turn stones into bread because he could do that. I've never been tempted in that way. Temptations are instructive, purifying, humbling, and self-revealing. But unlike some of us, I don't imagine Jesus was ever tempted to be lazy or boastful. Through our testings, we come to know ourselves and God. May the Lord grant us the strength to resist our temptations and the wisdom to benefit from them.